Welcome to the State of Our Union, the podcast where real love meets real life. I am your host, Karen Williams, author, speaker, and wife of over 30 years. This is the space for honest conversations around marriage, commitment, conflict, healing, and learning how to choose each other daily. And it's even during the times when life gets heavy, because love isn't just about the vows we take. It's about the work we're willing to do together. Each week, we'll have conversations that inspire, challenge, and remind you that even through loss, disappointment, and change, your relationship can grow stronger. So wherever you're listening from, whether you're driving, cooking, working out, or lying in bed wondering if you're alone in this, just know you're not alone. So take a breath, lean in, and let's talk about the real state of our union. All right, guys. So welcome back to the State of Our Union. This is episode 2. Ooh, can you believe it? 1 episode down. All right, so this is episode 2, and we're going to talk about the when the honeymoon ends, because hey, it's not all beds of roses every single day. Last time we talked about, how we enjoy being home together with with COVID and all of the things, but COVID is not the only difficult thing or difficult challenge that we've had. We've, of course, dealt with some, hard things. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the roughest years. And you know what? It may have been rougher for me because I was a stay-at-home mom. I was a stay-at-home mom with the kids. But let's most recently, what was the most challenging time for us? It was during the COVID season.
That whole challenge was, challenge the entire world was the unknown. It was just sitting here at home day after day,
Yep.
not knowing what was going to happen in the future.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to could have went stir crazy or have depression or something deeper than that, but it was just the unknown.
Yep. And then
that's when we had to dig into our faith and like, oh God, you got this. We don't know what the future holds, but it's like you say, we know we hold the future. So
yeah,
it was that. Yeah, it was
it was rough.
And it was rough, not knowing what was going to happen. But to say there was safety in being home as well, because we weren't out there as much circulating in the world, having a risk of catching this
increasing our chances of catching
deadly disease,
increasing our chances of catching COVID. Oh my gosh, COVID seemed like such a long time ago, but it's because of the impact that it had on our marriage. Because I actually lost my stepfather during that time. That was August of 2021. And then by December of 2021, we were, celebrating our anniversary that December, and we lost one of our sons. Mm-hmm. Now, here we are navigating, COVID and all of the things. And, we're still battling or still experiencing, death of close family members. And, sometimes you think about, things that when you think about your own marriage relationship, you think about some of the things that have gotten you to that point, some of the difficulties that not only stretches you, but one of the things about stretching is that you don't go back to the same size you were when you get stretched. Mm-hmm. You stretch an elastic band. Once it goes back, it doesn't go back to the original size. And for us, what we have learned is that difficulties have a way of pruning and improving us. But it depends on how we look at it and how we navigate it, because some of the things that Rob and I have experienced, there's some marriage that did not last through it. The loss of a child, there's marriages that don't survive that. As we know, there's some marriages that don't survive that did not survive COVID. But I think a lot of it, Rob, is because when we got married, we didn't have things. We didn't have a lot of things. We learned how to we learned how to cut back. We learned how to, spend money wisely. We lost money, gain money, all of those different things. But at the core of it, like I mentioned in the last episode, is go home or at the end of the episode, really think about what the core is of your marriage. What's at the foundation of it? And again, if God is not the foundation of your marriage, you really gotta, take some time out and figure out what is that for you? What's the actual what's the value system that you're using to to keep your marriage afloat. I want to talk a little bit about like the stress of children, work, and life events, and the tension that some of that can cause, because I had the most challenging time. Of course, I was homeschooling the kids. And if you talk to my kids now, they'll tell you, "Oh my God, they hated homeschooling." But hey, they're adults now. They get to tell you, they get to give you the report card on how they think their childhood end up being. But what was some of the challenges for you anyway? I'll let you talk about that a little bit, and then I'll tell you what some of mine were. I mean, you already know, but I'll share with them what mine
Challenges when?
during the years of raising kids.
Um, well, yeah, I think a large part of the challenge I didn't realize in the moment, but we found out later when, like you said, when we get the feedback from them, from the kids, we get the report card later, was that I was working too much. I wasn't there. It's like, so it was hard trying to find the time, to spend with them. But in the moment, we thought we were, I thought I was spending the reasonable amount of time that I could with the time that I had. Yeah, of course we got to go out in the world and work and make money, to pay the bills. And then, we at the time, those formative years, we was involved with the church a lot, spending a lot of time at the church. So
Yeah.
we were taking the kids to church with us. And so between work and church business, I guess in their mind, that took me away from them a lot. And like I said, they didn't voice that at the time, so I didn't realize that that was the situation until much later.
Yeah.
But, we were just doing the best we could, try to work and survive and be a model and an example for them.
Yeah.
Um,
Of course, that I've shared before, in different platforms about those the teenage years. The teenage years was challenging. It was like that going, it's that age where of course your kids get to that point where they start inserting their own independence, and as much as you want them to do that, it's a challenge to your own values and your own personhood, and a lot of times, there was a season when I was like, I want to go rent my own apartment. I'm going to go rent a studio because these people in this house is driving me nuts. And so for the mom that's out there that, this is your season. It's the season when you are, your momhood is the role that is more dominant right now. You feel like you can't catch your breath. You feel like, all your dreams and goals are somehow so far behind you or almost seem impossible. Listen, this too shall pass. Just trust me. I always recommend to especially to young parents that they say, "Oh, I can't wait for my babies to grow up." Don't worry about the growing up part. Just focus on where you are right now. Stay in that space. Be present in those moments that you're in, regardless of what the age group is, whether if they're crawling, they're in diapers, they're in kindergarten, teenagers. Just be present in those moments, because before you know it, those moments will be gone. And so for us, yeah, all of us wish we could have a do-over. But, since do-overs are not possible, what we try to do is see how well we can help others not make the same mistakes that we have made. And yes, as parents, again, I was a stay-at-home mom, so somebody had to work, somebody had to bring home dinner. And yeah, we had difficult times, trying to, be everything, for our children. um we've had rocky financial times, but all of that led to our personal growth. So what would you say is how we communicated during those difficult times? What effect did some of those challenging times have on our marriage, as a married couple?
I think it made us stronger,
For
brought us
sure.
closer together. We learned how to communicate better. And I mean, that should always be the goal, to
Hmm.
improve all areas of your relationship. And we did that. So we got better at the communicating. We got closer as a couple.
Hmm.
Uh, So again, we had growth. We had positive impact.
Yeah. I mean, some of the times we felt like, you know, I know I did. I was like, God, it got to get better than this.
Hmm.
It got to get better than this. I remember, remember when the kids were little, when we lived in DC and the kids were little, we would, I was still working. I was still in the military at the time. And trust and believe, even though that season of my life, I was in the Air Force making, actually bringing home money, it was still such a financial struggle. And you were going to school at the time, working and going to school at the time. And I came home from work one evening. You were so exhausted, you had passed out on the bed.
Hmm.
You passed out on the bed, and class must have started like an hour ago. And I remember, like, you got to go to class, and you got up, jumped up. But again, that was the toll that life itself was just taking on us during that season. Another time when I think it was, yeah, I think it was, yeah, it had to be Michael, because Jordan was too little then. But Michael needed pizza money. And I remember he needed, like, I mean, may have been $1.25 for pizza. And I didn't even have the $1.25. I didn't know where to find $1.25 in the moment, and I remember just sitting on the edge of the bed, just like, God, something gotta give, just being so broke that you couldn't find $1.25 for your baby's pizza. And so I eventually found it. I think I rounded it up somewhere in the car. But the point was, that season, again, it was just a season. It was not my entire life. It was just a moment in time. And again, I did not want to repeat those moments. So guess what? Everything that we started doing was so purposeful. We when we you went to school because, again, the goal was a better job, make more money, make a better life for us as a family. Um, and so you wonder, with that couple that's struggling with, hey, do I work? Do I stay home? Do I provide for my family? Or do I work outside the home, start a business, be a parent? It's so much. And will you make mistakes? Yeah, you will. We're not here to tell you that we had such a perfect relationship and everything just fell into place and we all had, we all live happily ever after. No, there were challenges, but you just decide, is our relationship worth it? Is this union worth the fight? Is it worth it that on the other side of it, in 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, will I have a legacy or a healthy relationship legacy to leave for our children and, in our case now, grandchildren? So we have grandkids that will come and visit. They enjoy the stability, but had we call it quits when, hey, Rob was not making enough, there was not enough money, there was just too much communication issues, there was just the kids were too challenging. Had we given up then, we wouldn't have the legacy that we have now to pass on to our grandkids. What you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to decide that what kind of couple you're going to be. It reminds me when I believe it was Paul talk about you know what it's like to have and you know what it's like to have not.
Yes.
But through it all, he's the same. He's consistent.
Yes.
And that's what you have to do in your marriage. A lot of marriages start out in the early years financially challenged, and you grow from that. But if you can make the relationship work at that time, when more finances come or more experience come, it just gets better.
Absolutely.
That's where you, like I say, the character is revealed when you face challenging times. So definitely in your early years of your marriage, in the lower level of finance, you're gonna have challenging times. But if you can build that character and grow in that and get stronger, and when the money comes and the wisdom comes later, you just grow from that, and you get better and better and better with time.
Yeah, and you said the word that that's always at the heart of a healthy relationship is character, because from your character is built on the values that you have. So before you even dive in and say, hey, I want to marry this person, you're looking at their character. Now, when we met, I wasn't sure if your character was, I didn't, at the time, I didn't know it was character that I was looking at. I just noticed that, oh my God, he's nice, he's kind, he's, you treat everybody, you literally treated everybody the same. It didn't matter, if it was the guy on the street or the server at the restaurant, you were kind to everyone. And I just did not know anybody that was so consistent in their character to like, okay, let me see what else is going to happen. And as as time went on, you just really your character never really changed as the core of who you are. And I know sometimes people are like, oh, Karen, your husband's so amazing. Yeah, he is. But, at the same time, those were, those are characteristics that we should be looking for in every one of our people, every person that we decide to align ourselves with. And yes, we know this is a marriage podcast, but when we talk about even business relationships, friendships, you're still looking for that character. And so when we talk about like boundaries and empathy and, how we prioritize each other over the years, tell me a little bit about what you think, how basically what role did empathy play in how we communicated with each other, how we talk to each other, how we deal with each other for that matter? What do you think?
Yeah, empathy coming out of the mutual respect for one another. And that's going to drive how you treat each other. So, yeah, empathy always has to be there. You want to understand from the other person's point of view. And yeah, you don't want to hurt the person, your person, your spouse. So yeah, you always want to see it from both sides, and then that can adjust your approach. Yeah, when you can understand how your spouse is feeling or thinking about certain things.
Yeah, it's so important that and I know we throw out the respect aspect of it, and we know most men measure love by the amount of respect that they get from their person. Because even when the world is going crazy, if they're respected by their woman, by their wife, they can, I mean, they can conquer the world basically. Um, but when we talk about respecting each other as an individual, not just as a wife or not just as a spouse, because I always say I would respect Rob. I can see us being friends even if we weren't married.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And so the respect for him had always been there, even if even if we didn't have a romantic relationship. Um, and I think a lot of times that's what's missing from a lot of relationships. So, and I know you say it all the time, marry your best friend. What do you mean by that when you say marry your best friend? Because I don't know if everybody understands that.
I know people definitely understand a best friend. Everybody, even if they don't have a best friend right now, they've had a best friend at some point in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great analogy for me, was to see it that way, that because no one has to teach someone how to find a best friend, and it just happened. And the same with your romantic partner, who's later your spouse. You gotta like the person as well as love the person. Too many people are confused and think, well, we just love each other, so everything's gonna work out. Say
Mm-hmm.
no, yeah, there's the friend dynamic aspect of it as well. You
Mm-hmm.
have to like the person, and that's a good foundation, because just like what how you have your relationship with your best friend, when your spouse is now your best friend, everything gels.
Mm-hmm.
You care so much about each other just on that friendship level, and you think similarly about things of life. You see things the same way. You want to share your thoughts and ideas and experiences with your friend,
Mm-hmm.
and you can build on that. If you don't have a friendship, there's nothing to build on.
Yeah.
You just got this romantic attraction, and that's it. And anybody knows that's not going to carry you through life.
Yeah, because that's just the honeymoon part. And
That's
so
the
when
honeymoon.
so when the honeymoon is over, now what? What do we have left? You know.
Yeah, we gotta go. Now we gotta talk to each other.
Now we have to have conversation. Like what?
We don't see the world the same way. We,
Yeah.
we don't like the same things. One like to travel, one doesn't. One like to have kids, one doesn't. Like
Yeah.
you're on two different planets.
Two different planets.
It's not gonna work.
Yeah, absolutely. You said couples have to like each other. Help people understand what like actually means. How do because we use the word a lot. So when I say I like you, what does that
Yeah,
mean?
I know. Love is more of feeling. It's like I care about you. That's emotion. That's feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Like is what draws you in. Uh, it's the compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
It's the similarities.
Yeah.
Those things. I like you because why? Because we can talk to each other. Because we see things. We're eye to eye.
Mm-hmm.
You like that. Like is ongoing. Um, love is something, well, I guess both. You can stop liking somebody as well, but love can go away. I guess the same way like can go away as well.
Yeah.
But when you have both,
Yeah.
they reinforce one another.
Correct. Absolutely.
Because people can say they love somebody, then at the same time they don't like them.
Yeah.
Because they don't like their personality, you don't like their character, you don't like some of the things they do. You still love them,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't like them. And
Yeah.
eventually that like is gonna go into the love side and kill it too.
You're right. And see what of course, from the coaching perspective, the like is what determine how much proximity we're going to give somebody,
Mhm.
how much time I want to spend with you, how much of my who I am I want to give to you. I like you because I trust you. That's where the trust like factor comes in. We always say, we connect to a client because they like and trust us. And because you, again, with a client, you're building relationship. And it's the same thing that we do as couples. We are building that relationship based on the like and trust factor as well. And some couples, they dive into this relationship. Again, we're talking about life after the honeymoon stage. And so they dive into their relationship and realize that they have what we call the solvable and perpetual conflicts. Some of the conflicts that you can solve are like maybe how we spend money, or the side of the bed that I prefer, or things like that, or I want to paint the room this color. You can solve those things. But when we talk about those perpetual conflicts, those are what we call, you and I refer to as the fundamentals. When you talk about perpetual conflict we're talking about things like our religion. We're talking about things like how we see the world, our political views, our standards of living, our at the core of our value system, our moral compasses. All of those things is what goes into that. And if we have perpetual conflicts, eventually you and I are going to get to a place, or you and your spouse will get to that place where you're like, you know what, this is not working out, because it takes way too much emotional bandwidth and energy to navigate a relationship that has issues, perpetual conflicts that you simply cannot solve. Because again, those are coming from a place of your core value system, which it literally makes up who you are as a person. So a couple of things that I want, I think, we want couples to walk away with is, again, reflect on what some of those ongoing conflicts are for you. What are some of the recurring conflicts that you're having? Is it ongoing communication, or miscommunication for that matter? And the thing is, with communication, I want to dive into that a little bit. I'll just take a quick rabbit trail. But with communication, a lot of times we don't realize that we label everything communication, but what is at the core of that? What is the lack of communication about? Sometimes we have miscommunication, or we lack effective communication around the topic of money, around the topic of intimacy, child rearing, all of those things. And so what we want to do is help you dive into what will that look like? What is the communication issue about? Because when you label everything communication, it's easy for us to just glaze over everything and just keep going. But if miscommunication, or what do you call the ineffective communication, is kind of based on how we raise children, well, dive into that. Look into that. Why is it that you feel that way? Why is it that you and your spouse are not agreeing on how to raise these babies? When it comes to money, what exactly is the issue with the money? Is there a gambling issue going on? Is it the fact that you have your money and he has his money? How is that? What does that navigation look like? Or how are you guys seeing, those topics, and from what perspective? The thing is, a lot of those things, again, goes back to value system. It goes back to how your relationship started in the first place and what is being built on. Because there are certain value systems that we have when it comes to money. It's outside of how we think as individuals, but we decided that, again, we said in the first episode, that the Word of God is basically that premise that we build our relationship on. So my thinking, his thinking, basically we take it and we see how well it aligns with God's word. And if it doesn't, we put that aside and align it with God's word. So again, what is that standard that you have? Or are you guys fighting each other because one person wants their standard to be the standard? That's another conversation that I think every couple should be having. But what I would say is reflect on what is the recurring tension, what is at the core of your ongoing conflict. Are you able to talk about it? Or are you at a place now where, you know what, I'm tired of talking about it. This man is, getting on my nerves. He doesn't understand. He doesn't help out. Are you asking? Are you, do you know how to formulate your language in a way that you can encourage both of, basically encourage each other to step in and start doing and helping and doing whatever is required to move your family or move your relationship along. Again, what is that standard? What is your relationship built on? Where are you guys disconnecting at? And was it always that way? Are you at a place now where you find you just suddenly find yourself in a situation or in a place where you're no longer communicating well? How did you get there? Where, I always say, who made the wrong turn at Albuquerque? Because we need to meet back up there and have that conversation again. And so, did you want to say something?
Yeah, that what you're saying, it takes me back to the friendship subject that we were speaking of a few moments ago.
Yeah.
Like comes before love. And when you learning things about one another, getting to know each other, you're finding out the things you like and things you don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And so people only deepen their relationship with somebody that they like.
Yeah.
And you like, and you continue spending more time with each other, getting to know each other more, having more experiences, and the likes continue and continue and continue. What's confusing to me in many relationships is you like this person. As I say, the likes grow and evolve into love. And then you say, I want to marry this person, and you get married. And at some point after the marriage, now you start not liking the person. Like, what happened? What changed? Or did you marry somebody that you didn't like?
Yeah.
Because again, if you're not friends and you don't have the like, you're going to have problems. You're going to have major challenges down the road.
Yeah.
So they say, you get to know the person. You have to decide the things that you know about the person. Can you live with those?
Yes.
Because you're going to have to literally live with those.
Yes.
You can't, dismiss it and then hope it's going to go away. But that's who the person is. That's how they are.
Yeah. So we have to get to a place where we marry people as they are, not marry people and then try to make them into what we want them to be. That's hard work. Ain't nobody trying to do all that.
While you're marrying potential.
Don't laugh at people. Because that's hard. And all of us, we see potential in every, we should be seeing potential in every situation. However, we can't marry somebody just based on that. We have to marry somebody based on observed behavior and observe responsibility. Because guess what? Anything that you see, like Rob said, anything that you see happening right now, that's what you're going to have to live with. And so I usually ask couples this question before they make the plunge. Is there anything that you want to change about your partner? Because if they don't, are you willing to live with that?
Because the potential, a lot of, probably might even go so far to say most potential does not ever get fulfilled.
Correct.
So
correct.
You're marrying an empty vessel.
Correct. Yeah. We have to make sure that we're not ignoring those red flags for sure. So wow, we covered a lot. So this kind of takes us to this kind of wrap up this second episode of our podcast. So the next time we're going to talk a little bit more about the role of grief and loss and some of the curveballs that life kind of threw at us. Again, this is just an introduction of the two of us. Of course, we're going to talk a whole lot more in future episodes on specific items. As always, I want to invite you to, share this podcast, share it with all the couples that you know. Of course, that one sister that you's like, hey, she probably need to hear some of this stuff. Because you know what? A lot of this stuff is not unique to just your relationship. You may feel like you're alone, but you're not alone. Over the next coming weeks and months, you're going to hear from other couples that have gone through, similar things that Rob and I have gone through, or some other challenges, and they've made it beyond that. There's a lot of noise out there on how to get out of marriages, or how marriages is the worst. Nobody that are married, people that are married are not happy. They're just faking it. Trust and believe. I don't do nothing that I don't like to do. So the fact that here we are 33 years later, it's by design, it's intentional, and we're going to share some of those specific intentions with you on the next episode. Thank you for spending this time with me on the state of our union. My hope is that today's conversation gave you something to reflect on, something to talk about, and maybe even something to try in your own relationship. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone you love or someone who needs to hear it. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss a conversation. Remember, strong relationships aren't built on perfection. They're built on intention, honesty, and the daily decision to choose each other. Until next time, guard your heart, nurture your love, and keep investing in the state of your union.